Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. On this video, I'm going to talk about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, the new Marvel movie that just came out on Friday. So this is going to be a spoiler-free review, so don't worry, I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm just going to give you my thoughts and a small review on what I thought of the movie. And I just want to say right off the bat, I really enjoyed this movie. I had a really fun time. I watched this movie with my girlfriend Erica in the theaters, who thought the same, that she really enjoyed this movie as well. So what are some good things about this movie that I really enjoyed? Well, there's a lot for this section. I think I definitely want to start off with Simu Liu, who's the actor that plays Shang-Chi. I really like him. This is the first time I've ever seen him on a movie. He's very good at acting. He's a good actor, and he's a fantastic fighter. That's going to lead me into a nice segue into the next part that I really liked about this movie, which were the fight scenes of this movie. Going into this movie, I was kind of worried because if this is going to be a martial arts movie, right? Was it actually going to be martial arts, or was there actually going to be, is it going to have that Hong Kong style 80s kung fu movie feel? I can say unequivocally, yes, that is the case. And actually that's the case because Brad Allen, he actually passed away recently, so RIP to him. He was the stunt coordinator of this movie, and he's actually a protege of Jackie Chan. They said that he was the kind of person that bridged the old school Hong Kong movies back in the 80s to the modern era of cinema. I mean, I really gotta give a hand to Brad Allen and the team behind Shang-Chi, because whatever action scenes that they crafted and created, Simu Liu was right in with it. I mean, he was able to keep pace and really give some really stellar fight scenes and tell some great stories behind this. Another great thing I want to mention about this movie is definitely the villain of this movie, right? Because the villain of this movie is badass. He's super cool. And he's everything that you want to see in a really good villain, right? He's a person that is an antagonist to our protagonist, in this case Shang-Chi, and he really brings the ball rolling, but his motivations are sympathetic, they're relatable, and he's just a character that is portrayed so well by the actor Tony Leung, I think pronouncing that correctly. I've never seen him in any other projects before, but I know he's a big deal in the Chinese Hong Kong cinema movies. I just have to say that for Tony Leung, leaving this theater, I am not a fan of his. He is cool. He has this presence about him when he's on screen, when he walks on, that just says respect. And I really like that about him. He was menacing, he was scary, and he was very, very relatable. So that's another credit that I have to give to this movie, Shang-Chi, because they did a fantastic job of portraying this character and bringing this character into life. Now, another thing I want to briefly mention is the female characters of these movies. Now, I typically don't bring up or mention the female characters like this normally, but I do want to highlight a purpose here in this movie is that with the female characters, well, in modern day cinema, sometimes you're presented a female character or any character really in general, and you're just told by the movie, respect this person, you're supposed to like this person, and they move on without giving me a reason why to like, respect, and care about these characters. And that's something I think Shang-Chi does really well, because it does something that's fundamental to a movie, but sometimes people miss the mark, and that is showing, not telling. And boy, they really show Shang-Chi and the female characters, and really many things in this movie, they give me a reason to care about these characters. They give me a reason to be like, oh, okay, I bow down to you. That was dope. Around 10-15 minutes into this movie, there's a scene on a bus. You will know what I'm talking about when you actually see the movie, or you maybe already have. But there's a scene on a bus that 10-15 minutes into this movie, I was like, whoa, regardless of how this movie turns out, this one scene alone is something like I want to watch again. This is one of those scenes that's very memorable, not just as an MCU scene, but as a movie scene in general. Now, it's not all, fluffy rainbows and peaches. There's some things that I thought that could have been done better, or that I thought were just okay. And first, we're gonna start with the soundtrack. Now, the soundtrack isn't bad by any means. It fits every moment appropriately. It swells high when it needs to. It plays dramatic when it wants to. But I'll give you this. I didn't walk out of the theater humming any particular theme. Typically, to me, a score, the soundtrack of a movie, can make the difference between like a bad movie and turn it into a good or great movie. It could turn a good movie into a great movie. A soundtrack is incredibly important, or it could be incredibly beneficial to a movie. Give example, the Star Wars movies, right? I think, to be honest with you, the main Star Wars movies, they're not all that great or interesting, but paired with the soundtrack, it is memorable as heck. And concerning this movie, nothing really struck me as memorable. It was kind of forgettable. Another thing I thought could have been a little bit better was the CGI. The CGI by no means wasn't horrible either. I just felt like at some points the CGI was like, I could tell that's CGI, or the CGI was kind of weak there. But there was also moments where the CGI some scenes had some heavy CGI moments. I was like, that looks fine. That looks actually great. But to be honest with you, concerning CGI, I think I could give that a pass because something tells me concerning the pandemic, ever since the pandemic started and you've had people working from home and movies being worked on, edited, and filmed at home, I think the CGI is just not as good as it could be if people were working in offices. So because of that, I say in the pandemic era is on par of everything else. Now, lastly, the things I didn't like about this movie. Now, I'll be frank with you. I watched this movie last night, and I found it hard walking out of the theater, and still now, about 24 hours later, to find anything that I wholeheartedly disliked in this movie. To be really frank with you guys, there's not many things I really disliked about this movie at all. It was a fun movie. It was emotional, it was exciting, and honestly, it's a great time. Whether you're an MCU fan or not, or just a movie fan, I recommend that you watch this in the theaters. I think this is one of those movies that's definitely fun to watch. And because of that, I'm gonna give this movie a solid 8.7 out of 10. So yeah, if you're still all the way to the end of this video, well, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And definitely, yeah, comment in the comments down below what you thought of this movie. And if you haven't seen this movie already, are you thinking of seeing it? I hope to have some great discussions with you guys. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Boom!